on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly. Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics.
ATN Global News. First, the headlines. Rivers State University in Bolu, Port Harcourt bans indecent dressing on campus. National Emergency Management Agency airlift relief items to buyers of flood victims. National Orientation Agency calls on Nigerians to support flood victims to reduce sufferings. Nigeria Economic Summit Group says $2.5 million Badagry seaport will boost the economy of the nation. Polish lawmakers declare Russia a terrorist state over aggression in Ukraine. Thames Rihanna Power Lifts Me Up single for Black Panther movie. Injured Nigerian international Wilfred Ndidi returns to training ahead of Manchester City clash. thanks for joining us. Now to our major stories. The Rivers State University management has announced the ban on indecent dressing within the school campus, according to an internal memorandum signed by the school's registrar and secretary to the Senate, Dr. S.C. Enyinda, dated October 19, 2022. The memorandum, titled Ban on Indecent Dressing by Students on Campus, was addressed to the Students' Union Government President and all students in the school and copied to the university's Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, the Provost, the Deans and Heads of Departments. The memorandum read, "I am directed to inform you that the Senate has banned indecent dressing by students on campus with immediate effect. I am further directed to inform you that this ban is sequel to a memo presented by the Committee of Provosts and Deans and considered by Senate at its 291 regular meeting held on Thursday, September 29, 2022. By this ban, it is now prohibited for any students to dress the following way on campus: wearing of spaghetti gown by female students, wearing of short skirt above the knees by female students. The management further listed some of the prohibited dressing to include coloring of hair by both male and female students, sagging of trousers by both male and female students, wearing of earrings by male students and nose rings by female students, wearing of tattoos by both male and female students, wearing of ankle chain by female students, wearing of long eyelashes by female students, wearing of gown blouse that exposes the navel or breast by female students, wearing of tattered jean trousers by both male and female students, wearing of bathroom slippers or bum shorts to the classroom. A lawyer, Barrister Akintayo, has advised the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike to refrain from amplifying the challenges of his party, the People's Democratic Party. He said if the governor does not want to support the ambition of his party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, it is within his rights to do so, but it should end at that. Commenting on the visit of Cross River State Governor Professor Ben Ayade and his Ebony State counterpart, David Umahi, Barrister Balogun, said Wike is giving room for speculation that he is supporting the presidential candidate of another party, as has been alleged.
You are not in the camp of the president. Then just stay aloof. You don't have to paint a picture and make everything look so bad for your party. Now, there's a meeting of 4 governors, 2 from your party, 2 from the other party. It now shows that yes, that crisis is actually very deep. And then you are beginning to give room for us to believe that you are supporting even the presidential candidate of another party.
He expressed doubt over the imbalance and inequality in the reasons given by Governor Wike and his allies, saying it speaks of the resolve to pull out of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council.
Openly, they keep saying it's the regional equality and all that. That is the reason you should also resign and all that. We have heard a lot of that, but we know that there are issues. There are more issues than the eye can see, which they are not really telling us. But there is more to it. There is much more to it. It's not just about his resignation. It's not just it. There's a lot to it, and unfortunately, they all seem to just be at a point where there is no going forward. There's no going backward.
Governor Nyesom Wike on Wednesday night held a closed-door meeting with the governors of Cross River State, Ben Ayade, Ebony State, Dave Umahi, and Abia State's Governor Okezikba's. The reasons for the meeting have remained unknown, but it is believed it will not be unconnected with 2023 elections. The federal government has directed the Niger Delta Development Commission to urgently intervene on the bad state of Ahoda West Mbiama axis of the East-West Road, which has recently been cut into 2 parts due to the ravaging flood in the area. The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Umana Okon Umana, gave the charge during his visit to the area to ascertain the level of damage done by the flood. Umana also directed the NDDC to ensure the provision of relief materials to flood victims in the affected local government areas, saying the federal government acknowledges the development as an emergency situation and therefore has directed relevant agencies to ensure that appropriate actions are taken to arrest the situation. He disclosed that the federal government has asked the agency responsible for flood management to establish a situation room where they can gather information from Nigeria on the flood issue. Accompanied on the tour by the acting managing director of Niger Delta Development Commission is Emmanuel Audu Ohavaboroa. The minister also visited some internally displaced persons camps in the area. Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel has donated 100 million naira to Bayelsa State to cushion the effect of flooding in the state. The governor said the flooding in Bayelsa was monumental and required help from all quarters to assuage the sufferings of victims. Governor Emmanuel, who led a delegation of members of his cabinet to Bayelsa State, applauded the efforts of Governor Doyediri in standing by his people in their moment of despair, adding that whatever afflicted Bayelsa affected Akwa Ibom because of the affinity in the Niger Delta region. He also announced that a truckload of relief materials courtesy of his wife's pet project, the Family Empowerment Program Foundation, was on its way to support flood victims in Bayelsa. Responding, Mr. Diri expressed gratitude to Governor Emmanuel for his show of love and brotherhood, describing the impact of the flood as immeasurable. He said the only means of communication was by air and through the maritime domain, as the roads into the state had been cut off, just as electricity transformers had been submerged, leading to blackouts. Governor Diri added that the floods affected 99% of the people of Bayelsa who have been displaced, adding that he has appealed to corporate organizations, international agencies and multinational corporations for assistance. Diri noted, however, that Bayelsa was yet to receive any relief item from the federal government. But we also gathered from Bayelsa State that the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in collaboration with the Nigerian Air Force, has started the airlift of relief supplies to flood victims in Bayelsa State. Items received were 1,400 bags of 10-kilogram rice, 1,400 bags of 10-kilogram beans, 1,400 bags of 10-kilogram maize, and 75 bags of salt. Non-food items received were 8,000 pieces of nylon mats, 1,000 pieces of mosquito nets, and 600 cartons of soap, among others. The operation started with the airlift of the items from Benin by the Nigerian Air Force 107 Air Maritime Group. Governor Doyediri of Bayelsa State and Mr. Angus Dide, Secretary State Emergency Management Agency, while receiving the items, commended the federal government for the supplies and also commended the Nigerian Air Force for assistance rendered to victims. Dide said NEMA and SEMA would collaborate by moving the most affected areas to distribute the items. NEMA Chief Godwin Tapikor said we could not access Bayelsa readily because the state was cut off from the rest of the country, and due to that, it was difficult to move down with the materials provided by federal government. We had to rely on our partner, the Nigerian Air Force, for assistance to move the items down. Tapikor commended the Chief of Air Staff for approving the platform for the airlift of the food and non-food items to Bayelsa State. Cross River State Governor Professor Ben Ayade on Thursday presented 330 billion naira appropriation bill for 2023 to the State House of Assembly, christened the budget of quantum infinitum. According to Ayade, 130 billion naira would be for recurrent expenditure, with 200 billion naira would be for capital expenditure. He said the 2023 budget, christened budget of quantum infinitum, is a citizen's budget focused mainly on the people. According to the budget, which will focus on deeper agro-industrialization, will also see the finalization of all unfinished projects. The 130 billion naira represents 39%, which will take care of salaries, gratuity, amongst other, while the 200 billion, which represents 61%, intends to kinetically crystallize all outstanding projects. Speaking further, Governor Ayade bemoaned the need for massive recruitment, adding that by early next year, about 85% of the workforce will retire. He said there is need for massive recruitment so that the new people can understudy those who are leaving. Also from Cross River State, we hear that the Federal Fire Service has said property valued at more than 8 billion naira were destroyed by fire in Cross River State from January to 26 October 2022. The commanding officer, Calabar Commander of the Federal Fire Service, Olumuyiwa Olomola, disclosed this to newsmen in Calabar on Thursday. The commanding officer said the destruction took place in 13 fire incidents reported within the period, adding that one death was recorded while 3 persons were injured in the incident. Giving an instance of the value of destroyed property, she said a transformer at the TCN 33 kVA substation line at Adiabo, Calabar, that was gutted by fire in August is put at a cost of 2.6 billion naira. Mrs. Olomola, who said that the command responded swiftly to the incident, however, noted that the Federal Fire Service in Cross River was facing a lot of challenges. She particularly noted the high price of diesel and lack of water tankers and ambulances on each stable as hindrance to their efficiency. A family whose newborn baby's body parts were said to have been removed in a hospital in Asaba, Delta State, have accused the State Police Command of compromising the case. The incident took place on October 10, 2022, after the baby was said to have been confirmed dead in the hospital. The baby was brought to the hospital on September 29 but died after 11 days on oxygen. The family said when they came to take the cups on Monday, they discovered that the baby's eyes, ears and face had been removed. The baby's father, 36-year-old Promise John, accused the police of exonerating the hospital from the case, saying the case has been charged to court, but the police only charged the nurses without joining the hospital. It's like they have collected money from the owner of the hospital. There is an attempt to deny us justice. The police should charge the hospital as well. As I speak to you now, the 3 nurses that were arrested have been released. A rights activist in Asaba, Victor Ojay, also accused the police of bias, adding, I trace the family to a division jurisdiction magistrate court. Why are the police trying to frustrate this matter that has caused this family so much pain? Because the mother used cesarean section to deliver the baby, and the death of this child has brought about immense and painful grief for the parents. They are now experiencing painful emotions, sadness, worry, and anger. But the State Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Bright Edafe, said the nurses involved had been arraigned and that there was no reason to join the hospital, adding that on the court's jurisdiction magistrates court, 1 is the head magistrates court and would not be said to have no jurisdiction. Now, in response to the humanitarian crisis caused by floods in some parts of Nigeria, International Breweries PLC, the largest beer maker in the world with over 500 beer brands, has donated relief materials to affected communities in Onitsha and its environs in Anambra State. The relief materials worth millions of naira include daily subsistence needs such as cartons of vegetable oil, cartons of noodles, branded bags of rice, malt cans, and cartons of spaghetti. Corporate Affairs Manager, International Breweries PLC, Damian Igwe, said the company commiserates with the people and the Anambra State government on the loss of human lives and properties. He said this is one of our corporate social responsibility interventions. The intention is to support the displaced persons in Obaru LGA through the donation of relief materials, majorly groceries. We are moved by the pain of the people and are only demonstrating the compassion that a socially responsible organization should demonstrate at a time like this. In his remark, plant manager of the company, Fidelis Igwe, noted that the Ogbaru community, which hosts the plant, has been a good host to the company. A magistrate court in Ogurute, Iweze, North Local Government area of Enugu State, on Wednesday dismissed all charges brought against 4 youths who were accused by the Nigerian government of being members of the legal group Indigenous People of Biafra. Ifeanyi Ejiofor, the main lawyer for IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, gave the names of the defendants released by the court as Ifeanyi Obu, Arinza David, Uchenna Abba, and Stephen Ejiofor. The lawyer said they were illegally arrested and also briefly in a military detention center in Enugu Cantonment, but did not say the exact time of their arrest. He said the 4 suspects were subsequently charged in court following irresistible legal pressure brought to bear on Nigeria security agencies which were carrying out the prosecution. He said today, after hearing our requests and asking the court to drop these frivolous charges brought against them, and after hearing our strong arguments on the law, as convincingly put forward by our own Augustine Ezokeke, the Honorable Court accordingly found the request to be meritorious and accordingly dropped the entire charge and released these innocent defendants. Now they have gone home as free men. Also from Enugu State, we have the report that the police command has launched a manhunt for the kidnappers of students of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and other abducted passengers, even as 9 suspected kidnappers have been arrested in 2 other kidnap incidents with 3 victims rescued. Some students and passengers whose numbers were yet to be ascertained traveling to Nsukka were reportedly abducted along the Nike-OP Nsukka Road. The students were reported to be returning to campus following the resumption of academic activities after 8 months of industrial action embarked upon by lecturers in public universities across the country. The kidnappers are said to be demanding 300 million naira from the parents of the victims as ransom for their release. But the command, in a statement issued on Thursday by its spokesman DSP Daniel Ndukwe, said it has deployed security assets to the location with a view to rescuing the victims and arresting the perpetrators, adding that the Commissioner of Police in the state, CP Ahmed Amani, has ordered adequate provision of security along Uwogo Nike-OP Nsukka Road, the rescue of alleged abducted victims and arrest of the culprits. Physically challenged persons in Oyo State have vowed to support only political parties and candidates that recognize them in the forthcoming general elections in 2023. They came out with this during a rally to create awareness among persons with disabilities towards the preparation for the forthcoming general elections. The rally tagged effective mobilization strategies and participation of persons living with disabilities at the grassroots for the 2023 general elections held in some parts of Ibadan, and was organized by the Coalition of Like-Minded People with Disabilities, Oyo State Chapter. President of the coalition, Mr. Chukwuma Ibe, who spoke during the rally, lamented that persons with disabilities have been neglected by political office holders over the years. Now, despite the fact that about 2.5 million people live with disabilities in the state, he, however, said that only politicians that recognize them would have their support during the next elections in the state. Ibe said, "We organized this rally to let members of the public, especially people in Oyo State, know the existence of persons with disabilities. They look at the population of persons with disabilities with a minor figure. But we want the politicians to know that we are many. We have the power to vote in and vote out someone. We have a lot of roles to play in the 2023 elections. We have gone to obtain our PVCs. So any political party or candidate that recognizes persons with disability will be voted for in 2023. When we have a population of 2.5 million people, it is not a small population. We are ready to support a political party or candidate that recognizes us in 2023. Presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, said he has forgiven Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Tinubu stated this in Kano while addressing some political support groups loyal to Osinbajo during the APC presidential primaries. According to Tinubu, a man who asks for forgiveness from God must be willing to forgive others. He said he has nothing against the Vice President, and as he assured that he will work with everybody, and noted that he visited Osinbajo at his house after the primaries and also interacted with him during the ministerial retreats. He said, "I have nothing against him. I have been to his house, and after the primaries, I've seen him on the day of the goodwill message at the retreat organized by the president." Now, reacting to this matter of forgiveness between the presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu, and the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, is a professor of political science, M.A. Ekekwe, who traced the issues between Tinubu and Osinbajo to the APC presidential primaries in June this year, where both of them contested against each other. He said if Tinubu were a strong party man, he doesn't have to worry about who opposed him or not in the party. He further expressed his disappointment over Tinubu's statement on forgiveness.
Osinbajo came into the limelight of politics in Lagos State through the instrumentality of Tinubu. Very good. But it does not appear to me that Tinubu understood what he had done. He thought he was recruiting somebody who would always obey him, just as do all Oga fathers. That's what I say is undemocratic. All right? Tinubu had a right to recruit, but Osinbajo had a right at his own time to step forward. Isn't that a crisis we've seen in all the states where the governors picked their successors? It's the same thing playing out here. So it shouldn't really be something that should stop us from doing every other thing. Those are two men sorting themselves out. Tinubu is right if he says, I've forgiven him. But it's not for him to come and make it a public statement. All right? Until he made that statement, I didn't see why he would be fighting, because I heard it before, that he and Osinbajo fell out. It didn't make sense to me. All right? He should have risen above that if he became the party flag bearer. It doesn't mean who, it doesn't matter who opposed you in the process. They had a right to oppose you. They had the right to come forward and put their own vision of Nigeria through your political party. If you're strong in that party, why would you worry about who opposed you and who did not oppose you? So if he ever had, for any reason, seen Osinbajo as his political enemy, he was thoroughly wrong. Terrible political judgment. All right? He should now be working very seriously to make sure that everybody in his party, those who supported him and those who opposed him.
When asked if the Yoruba culture would have had a turn on their rifts, Professor Eme had this to say.
Politics. It doesn't have Hausa Fulani politics. Democracy is democracy. If you come into it, you come with the culture of democracy. There's a culture of democracy. Yes, your local nuances, all right, may influence how that works. All right? But when you say you are in politics, please, let us assume certain common denominators. The Yoruba culture, great and rich as it is, it's not Nigerian culture. It is not democratic culture. So we need to step out of that mold. Step higher. All right? Where that Yoruba element would have come in is, he goes to, either of them goes to each other's house and say, Adobale, I'm sorry. My point is, it should not be a public matter. Yes.
The sum of 17.4 billion has been approved by the Federal Executive Council for the provision of broadband infrastructure for micro, small and medium enterprises, as well as tertiary and higher learning institutions across the 6 geopolitical zones. This takes the form of supply of IT communications equipment and furniture for communication centers in the nation's 6 geopolitical zones by the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said the 660.42 million was also approved for the procurement of operation of vehicles for the Federal Road Safety Corps. Mohammed said the first was a memo for the procurement of vehicles for the Federal Road Safety Corps, and that contract was in favor of Mercer's Innocent Manufacturing Company at the total sum of 660.422 million, and it is made up of 20 pickup vehicles and 1 city bus, and it is in the spirit of encouraging a local industry that the contract was awarded to Innocent Motors. The Minister of Communication and Digital Economy presented a memo also which was approved for the provision of broadband infrastructure for micro, small, medium enterprises and also tertiary and higher learning institutions across the 6 geopolitical zones. The administration is passionate about deepening the broadband infrastructure, and that contract was awarded to various companies for 16.71 billion naira. The former National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Olisa Metu, has resigned from the party, saying he would contribute more to Nigeria's governance by being non-partisan. In a letter to PDP's national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, Metu lamented the brand of politics in Nigeria, pointing out that he can no longer participate in partisan politics. He said, during my 3-week trip for medical and personal reasons, I came to the realization that I can no longer play partisan politics in Nigeria. The reason for this decision is that from my experience and the nature of politics and development in Nigeria, I believe that I will contribute more to democracy and good governance in Nigeria by being non-partisan. In that regard, I write respectfully to formally inform you of my resignation from the PDP and cessation of partisan politics. In line with the constitution of the PDP, I have forwarded a copy of my resignation to my ward chairman. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned Metu for an alleged 400 million naira fraud in 2016, accusing him of receiving the sum from the office of the former National Security Advisor. He had denied collecting the money, stressing that his former office collected the money and used it to prosecute elections. You're watching the Global News Atlantic Television Network. We'll be right back after this break.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact.
Good to have you back to the Global News. The management of Jabi Lake Mall in the Otako area of Abuja has shut down its operations following threats to security in the Federal Capital Territory as contained in security advisory by the government of the United States of America and that of Britain. In a post on the mall's Instagram page at Jabi Lake Mall, Nigeria, the management revealed that although it wasn't its intention to disrupt activities, they had taken the decision for the safety of shoppers and staff of the establishment. They added that they were reviewing the security situation with relevant authorities and that the mall would be reopened as soon as possible. So to all our valued shoppers, Jabi Lake Mall will be closed today, Thursday, October 27, 2022. This decision has been taken in the overall interest of the safety of all staff customers of the mall. Center management is committed to minimizing any disruptions. However, the safety of our staff and shoppers remains our highest priority. Management is constantly reviewing the security situation in consultation with relevant security authorities and will inform you when the mall will be reopened. We apologize for any inconvenience caused and hope to provide you with a quality shopping experience soon. Thank you. The National Orientation Agency has called on all Nigerian citizens, individuals, and corporate organizations to mobilize and send aid to flood-ravaged individuals and communities in order to provide relief for affected communities and reduce the sufferings of compatriots. The Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Dr. Garuba Abari, made this call in Abuja on Thursday while presenting his report on the situation of flood in affected areas of the country. Abuja correspondent Norma Omeje has more to say.
The National Orientation Agency has called on Nigerians to intervene urgently with humanity and brotherly compassion to salvage the recent rising case of flooding in the country. We can recall that National Orientation Agency held a stakeholders meeting in Abuja to brainstorm and develop strategies to tackle the menace of flooding and its consequential effect on the livelihood of citizens as they continue to play an active role towards disseminating credible and relevant information at the grassroots level.
The situation calls for urgent intervention by all, and this situation calls for the urgent intervention by all and sundry. It is by no means a burden that government alone, can bear. The existential challenge of the current flooding in parts of Nigeria is one of such national trying moments that call for every one of us to summon the humanity and the brotherly compassion that Nigerians are known for. We must rise up to answer the clarion call of being our brothers' keepers in this time of need. It is a time when those who can help must reach out a hand to those, must extend a hand to those who need help.
Director General reiterated the commitment of the agency in actively participating in decisions on matters affecting the general welfare of all Nigerians and our country.
The NOA objective is clear about what we need to do as an institution in cases like this. Our mandate requires the agency to encourage people to actively and freely participate in discussions and the decisions on matters affecting the general welfare of all Nigerians and indeed our dear country. We therefore call on all citizens, individuals and corporate groups to mobilize and send aids to flood-ravaged individuals and the communities, both in internal displaced persons camps and elsewhere.
He equally emphasized the need for awareness and publicity on the various plights of the affected victims of the flood to attract help urgently from well-meaning public.
What needs to be done is for local government and the community leaders to ensure that those whose sources of livelihood were affected are given psychosocial support, including counseling and the social safety assistance. The community orientation and the mobilization officers of the NOA have been directed to continue to sensitize communities on the need to stay put in their temporary locations until advised otherwise. They are also to take health and hygiene education to the communities.
Norma Omeje, ATN News, Abuja.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLA, has confiscated 20 billion naira lodged into 103 bank accounts belonging to Lagos socialite and businessman Malinsin Ukatu, who is being held in Ikoyi Custodial Center for drug dealing. The agency has also filed 23 count charges against the socialite and his 6 companies: Fruit Tropics Industries Limited, Malsin and Partners Limited, Nispo Poclane Company Limited, NBL Multi-Link Services Limited, Nispo Oil and Gas Limited, and Urban Space Services Limited before the Federal High Court, Abuja. The drug agency had earlier obtained an interim seizure of 25 properties belonging to Ukatu. The billionaire was said to have used Fruit Tropics Industries Limited United Bank for Africa accounts to illegally convert 123.8 million, which is deemed to be proceeds of an unlawful act, contrary to Section 15, subsection 2B, and punishable under the Section 15, subsection 3 and 4 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011, as amended. The first defendant was also alleged to have between January 1, 2018 and September 23, 2021, used Malitin and Partners Limited's UBA accounts to convert 1.447 billion naira, which was a proceed of crime in violation of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011 as amended, while also between July 25, 2017 and October 14, 2021, used Malisin and Partners Limited Access Bank accounts to convert the sum of $347,755 knowingly or reasonably ought to have known to be proceeds of an unlawful act, and thereby committed an offense contrary to Section 15, subsection 2B, and punishable under Section 15, 3 and 4 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011. A member of the House of Representatives, Danjuma Shidi from Taraba, says he would use all legal means within his reach to free and get justice for his campaign DJ, who, according to the lawmaker, was illegally arrested and detained by Nigerian police on the orders of the governor of Taraba State, Dixon Ishaka. The lawmaker, who represents Ukari Ibi, Federal constituency of the state, was speaking to journalists at a news conference held at the National Assembly in Abuja. He disclosed that the DG of his campaign council was arrested because of a claim that he was inciting the public while speaking to the people over the removal of his banner and appealing for calm.
And Nigeria is a government, but Nigeria is a democratic country. Every person in government today is a product of democracy, including the governor of Taraba State. But as I speak today, the governor wants to suffocate APC in Taraba, particularly in Taraba State. About 3 days ago, the governor arrested my DG, my director general, the director of my campaign. As I speak, he's under the police custody for a phantom reason that he is inciting the general public, which is not even true. I have the video tape of the speech he made in counting people in reaction to our banners and the posters that were destroyed in terms of local government. They arrested my DG, not just only arrest, he was stripped naked by the police. The vehicle was vandalized. They buried him and took him to the police cell in Taku, and later took him by the road. They traveled on a bad road for over 5 hours or 6 hours to Jalingo. So I've come to let you know that you have to take the war. I'm not stopping here. We will do everything possible legally to ensure release and to ensure that democracy is practiced in Taraba.
The APC senatorial candidate for Taraba South added that he would use all legal means within his reach to free the DG and give him justice to ensure the illegal arrest and detention did not stand. Ada Honor Ifowodo reports that the governor of Taraba State, Governor Dixon Ishaku, is also contesting for the Taraba South senatorial seat under the People's Democratic Party. The Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu on Wednesday announced the voter register had swollen up to 93.5 million, revealing that Lagos, Kano, Kaduna, Rivers, Katsina and Oyo states have the highest number of registered voters. A breakdown indicates that Lagos has 7.57%, Kano 6.3%, Kaduna 4.65%, Rivers 3.77%, Katsina 3.76%, and Oyo 3.51%. Voters in the 6 states constitute 27.68 million voters, or 29.59% of the entire registered voters, with Lagos, Kano, Kaduna, and Rivers states having 7.75 192 5,927 4,345 and 3,532 respectively. They are followed by Katsina with 3,519,260 voters and Oyo with 3,275,045 voters. In the 2019 elections, the Northwest had 20.15 million voters. However, data from INEC revealed that the zone got additional 2.12 million voters during the recently concluded continuous voter registration. The Southwest, which earlier had 16.29 voters as at 2019, now has 17.93 million voters, having added a total of 1.64 million newly registered voters, while the number of registered voters in the South-South has risen from 12.8 million to 14.4 million. The North Central now has a total of 13.8 million voters, while the Northeast added 107 million new voters to reach 12.5 million, and the Southeast, which is the smallest geopolitical zone, now has a total of 10.9 million voters. The Federal Capital Territory increased from 1.3 million to 1.5 million registered voters. And now to new business reports. The Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria has lamented the high level of insecurity at the nation's seaports. President General of Maritime Workers Union, Adewola Adeyanju, while addressing the media, bemoaned the attack on one of the association's members, Wale Cole, who is also a freight forwarder recently. Cole was left with a deep machete cut and is said to be currently receiving treatment at an undisclosed hospital. Adeyanju urged government through the Nigerian Ports Authority to ensure the regulation of activities of freight forwarders in the country. He said the government should also intensify efforts to see how they will regulate the activities of freight forwarding associations, because it is no longer the profession we know. It has changed to where one faction hires hoodlums to attack another faction and other ports users. He said if the security currently taking place in the port is not well managed, I don't know where the management of NPA will find itself. This is a signal that all is not well in terms of security at the ports, where the police have to run for their lives as a result of what happened on Thursday at the Tinkan Island port. The federal government has said that there is no going back in its decision on a national carrier for the nation, Nigeria Air Limited. On the decision to establish the air carrier, the minister insisted it will be in partnership with Ethiopian Airlines as the major investor with 49% shares. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, was speaking before the Senate Committee on Aviation during an interactive section with heads of aviation agencies and airlines operators of Nigeria. He said Africa, particularly Nigeria, must come out with speed with the world and open up the African skies for business through creating opportunities for local and foreign investments.
Single African air transport market. So we have a continent, the African continent. And in the wisdom of the heads of governments of African Union, they decided there should be CFTFA, Continental African Free Trade, whatever. And also to have a single African air transport market. Why? Because today, if you want to go to Niamey, you have to fly to Paris to come back to Niamey because of the lack of capacity of our airlines continentally to be able to provide those services and to open up the skies and connect everybody. And once that happens, all of them will be very busy taking passengers. They go to Ouagadougou. The last time that my wife was going to Ouagadougou from here, Abuja, she flew to Cotonou, from Cotonou to Côte d'Ivoire, somewhere, and then flew to Ethiopia before she went to Ouagadougou. The last time I went to Banjul, I did 5 landings to arrive in Banjul, 5 countries to go to Banjul.
Mr. Roland Iyayi, member of Airline Operators of Nigeria, had earlier kicked against the operational agreement of Nigeria Air with Ethiopian Airlines. But the minister said Nigeria Air is going to happen before the end of the year and will fly and also compete fairly with all the existing airlines.
To be able to tap into the 1.4 billion people market, 34 million square kilometers of land mass is Africa. And 200 million out of that is Nigeria, at the center of Africa, equal distance from all locations. Distinguished Senator Nala is a pilot. He knows the performance of an airplane at sea level, which we are, and we are underserved. So the more the merrier. In my own little understanding is that the minute you begin to invest in this industry, in this service of civil aviation, the more the industry grows and the more the capacity is exposed and exported. And this is the position of the ministry. The position of Hadi Sirika on this matter is, for goodness sake, if there will be a mechanism to be in place that will bring down the prices of tickets so that the propensity to fly will increase, so that more people will have access to civil aviation transport.
President Muhammad Buhari has invited top Korean business executives to increase their investment in Nigeria, while his regime would continue to make determined efforts to improve the enabling domestic environment for businesses to flourish. Special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, said Buhari was quoted to have spoken during an audience he granted to representatives of the strategic Korean companies and industries on the sidelines of the World Buyers Summit 2022 in the Republic of Korea. The president noted that Nigeria remains committed to creating a stable and enabling business environment for foreign investors through the formulation of sound economic policies and improved governance, adding that security forces have been working assiduously with local communities to ensure the security of lives and properties of Nigerians and foreign investors. He said our administration has prioritized power infrastructure under the Presidential Power Initiative. In this regard, Nigeria has procured modern power equipment, which was inaugurated in September 2022 as part of the phased project to generate 25,000 megawatts of electricity by 2025. Furthermore, to ensure ease and clearing of cargo, giant strides have been digitalized of the processes in our seaports as well as airports. South Korean technology giant Samsung Electronics announced that the de facto leader Lee Jae-young would be promoted to the position of chairman of the company. Jae-young had received the presidential pardon in August after serving jail term for a fraud conviction. With the appointment, the ex-conviction now fills a position that had been vacant since the death of his father, Lee Kun-hee, in 2020. Jae-young's appointment came when the company's third quarter operating profits were down 31.39% year-on-year after a global economic downturn hits demand for consumer electronics. The company said earnings in its crucial memory chips division dropped, adding that demand for consumer products remained weak. Operating profit for July to September 2022 fell to 10 trillion won, $7 billion, down from 15.8 trillion won for the same period last year. Jae Young said, "Our survival depends on future technologies. We can turn this crisis into opportunity." The Nigerian Economic Summit Group and the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise have said that the $2.5 million Badagry Deep Sea Port will enhance international trade between Nigeria and other countries, especially within the West African sub-region. Dr. Emeka Nwosu, a member of the group, said that the Deep Sea Port will reposition the country as a regional maritime hub, noting that it would also help in decongesting the Lagos Ports Complex. He said the first direct benefit is job creation, then it will help to reposition Nigeria as a regional maritime hub by decongesting the Lagos Ports Complex. Again, because of its geographical position, it will enhance trading within the economic community of West Africa states through the Nigerian Abidjan Corridor and, more importantly, through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. It will upgrade Badagry to a seaport city because right now Badagry is supposed to be a border city, so it will now be both a land border city and port city. If there is poor urban planning, the type of congestion we have in Apapa will be repeated in Badagry, particularly as the state has failed to complete the rail line and the federal government has failed to complete the Badagry Express. This would cause more harm. Also speaking, the Chief Executive Officer of CPPE, Muda Yusuf, said that the project would give the country the opportunity to improve the capacity of the maritime sector. You're still watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. A total of 137 lawmakers in Ghana's parliament have tabled a motion to fire the West African country's finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. A letter addressed to the Speaker of Parliament read, "May this Honorable House pass a vote of no confidence in the minister responsible for finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, in accordance with the Article 82 of the 1992 Constitution." The 137 of the 275 lawmakers at the minority caucus in Parliament, representing half of Parliament. 1/3 of Parliament is required to sign a non-confidence vote notice. However, Article 82 of the Constitution stipulates that no less pass a vote of no confidence on a government appointee. The Constitution further says a vote of no confidence may or may not lead to the resignation or outright dismissal of a government appointee. The minority lawmakers accused the minister of despicable conflict of interest by claiming that he benefits directly from Ghana's economic problems as his companies receive commissions and other contractual benefits that are little ethics. Particularly Ghana's over-indebtedness. Ofori-Atta is also accused of making unconstitutional withdrawals from the Consolidated Fund, allegedly for the construction of President's Cathedral. Lawmakers said he made illegal payments of oil revenues into offshore accounts and was deliberately and dishonestly misreporting economic data to Parliament. In addition, the legislator accused the Minister of fiscal recklessness that led to the collapse of the Ghana cedi, which is currently the worst performing currency in the world. Alarming incompetence and terrifying ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and an unbearable cost of living crisis. Polish lawmakers have voted on the reason declaring Russia a terrorist state over its war in Ukraine. The resolution, which took place on Wednesday, passed with 85 votes, adding that it strongly condemns Russian aggression. Russia, under Vladimir Putin, had invaded Ukraine on February 14 this year, leading to a raging war that has claimed hundreds of lives and caused global economic impact. Early this month, Putin also announced the annexation of 4 regions of Ukraine into Russia, an act that many world leaders have condemned. Consequently, Polish lawmakers have called on all countries that support peace, democracy, and human rights to recognize the authorities of the Russian Federation as a terrorist regime. The lawmakers, while passing the resolution, outlined accounts of torture, forced deportations, murder of civilians and intentional strikes on civilian locations to back their calls to characterize Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. Reports say 15 people have been shot dead and dozens wounded in an attack at the Shah Cheragh Mausoleum in the Iranian city of Shiraz. Initial reports said 3 assailants had fired at pilgrims and staff at the entrance of the Shia Muslim shrine, and that 2 had been arrested by police. But the local judiciary chief said only 1 terrorist was involved. The Islamic State militant group IS said it had carried out the attack in which 2 children and a woman were said to have been among the dead. President Ibrahim Raisi vowed a swift and firm response, saying this crime will definitely not go unanswered, and the security and law enforcement forces will teach a lesson to those who designed and carried out the attack. The Muslim includes the tombs of 2 sons of the 7th Shia Imam Musa al-Qadim, who are also the brothers of the 8th Imam Ali Rida. And now to entertainment news. Tems Rihanna Power Lifts Me Up single for Black Panther movie. The Nigerian singer Temilade Obeni, known professionally as Tems Baba Dian, singer Rihanna are relishing on a creative collaboration on the single Lift Me Up for the movie Black Panther Wakanda Forever. On Tuesday, Marvel Studios had shared a short clip on social media confirming that the Barbadian singer will be on the Black Panther Wakanda Forever soundtrack. It has been announced that she will make her long-awaited return to music on Friday, with the artist teasing the track Lift Me Up on Wednesday. The single was produced by Ludwig Göransson and director Ryan Coogler. The 27-year-old Tems, speaking on her contributions to Rihanna's single, said, after speaking with Ryan and hearing his direction for the film and the song, I wanted to write something that portrays a warm embrace from all the people that I've lost in my life. I tried to imagine what it would feel like if I could sing to them now and express how much I miss them. Rihanna has been an inspiration to me, so hearing her convey this song is a great honor. The single Lift Me Up was written as a tribute to the extraordinary life and legacy of Chadwick Boseman by Tems, Oscar winner Ludwig Göransson, Rihanna, and Ryan Coogler. The song was recorded in 5 countries and was produced by Göransson. The single will be released this Friday, October 28, via Rihanna's own Westbury Road label in partnership with Rock Nation, Def Jam Recordings and Hollywood Records. The talented singers connected in September at an event in Los Angeles to promote the Rihanna's lingerie collection. American rapper and fashion designer Kanye West, who lost $2 billion in 24 hours after several brands cut ties with him over anti-Semitic comments, has reacted to the development. West is reacting less than 48 hours after an American business magazine Forbes announced that Kanye no longer has a place on its billionaires list now that his lucrative deal with Adidas is over. Brands that have cut ties with Kanye so far include Balenciaga, MRC, the entertainment studio shelved an already finished year documentary, his talent agency CAA, Adidas, Jalen Brown, and Aaron Donald, Foot Locker, The Real, TJ Maxx, Madman Tussauds. On the loss, the rapper in a post on Instagram explained that the people are who he is and not the money. He wrote, I lost $2 billion in one day and I'm still alive. This is love speech. I still love you. The money is not who I am. The people is who I am. Also, his school, Donda Academy, was affected as they were dropped from a high school tournament because of Kanye's utterances. Nigerian singer Mohbad's lawyer has served a notice of contract termination on Naira Marley, the owner of Malian Records. Mohbad shared a video clip early this week, claiming he was assaulted at the hands of Malian crew after he requested to change his manager, who happens to be a member of the Malian family. Headed termination notice, the letter reads in part that Naira Marley orchestrated and carried out violent attacks on their client Mohbad It also provided that Naira Marley has failed to pay all royalties and advances due to Mohbad as agreed in the contract entered into in 2019, stating also that it was on this basis that Mohbad was terminating his contract with Malian Records. The letter requested Naira Marley to pay all the royalties, advances, and all the monetary compensation due to Mohbad under the contract and demanded that Naira Marley hands back to Mohbad the catalogue of all the songs released on that Malian Records. And now to sports stories. Nigerian-born US-based Enobong, the Nigerian gentleman Umohete, has made a surprise return to professional boxing after almost 8 years in retirement with a knockout win over Toledo Ohio's hard-hitting William Billy Myers. In a fight which took place in Ashland, Kentucky, Umohete, a former Universal Boxing Federation International heavyweight boxing champion, stunned the boxing world with a remarkable knockout of Myers in the third round of the encounter to secure his 10th professional career win. Umohete thanked God for the victory and the opportunity to inspire other athletes. Umohete's head coach, George Offiong, stated that the pugilist was put through the most rigorous routine of health, medical, and physical training tests during his absence from combat, adding that he exceeded all benchmarks in endurance, speed, power, reflex, craft ring generalship, techniques, tactics, and stamina during a training camp that lasted several months. Nigerian international Leicester City midfielder Wilfred Ndidi is back in training at the club's Seagrave training ground ahead of this weekend's Premier League clash against champions Manchester City. Ndidi, 25, has missed Leicester's last 4 Premier League matches after being substituted at half-time against Nottingham Forest at the start of this month with a hamstring issue that has sidelined him. Manager Brendan Rodgers admitted after last weekend's win against Wolverhampton Wanderers that they didn't want to take the risk of involving the returning midfielder at Molineux. Photos showing the player in action at Seagrave were posted across the club's official social media accounts on Wednesday morning, with the Instagram post accompanied by a caption, "Wilf's back on the training pitches as he continues his recovery from a hamstring injury." An image showed the player working at drills with and without the ball on his own, with no teammates featured in the photos, suggesting that team training was not yet the agenda. This comes as a timely boost for the Super Eagles, who will face Costa Rica and Portugal in friendlies next month. The 3-time African champions will face the Los Ticos in a send-forth game in San Jose on November 10 in San Jose before taking on Portugal in Lisbon a week later. World 100 hurdles champion and record holder Toby Amusan has urged young Nigerians not to give up on their dreams but to believe in themselves and work towards expected results. Amusan, a nominee for the Women's World Athlete of the Year 2022 award and the world's fastest 100-meter hurdler as well as Commonwealth Games champion, stated in an interview that young people should not let anyone throw cold water on their mind, that they are not on the right path. The Nigerian hurdler said, "Believe that what you want in your heart, you can do it, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it or that you are not discouraged, that the right path is right. It doesn't go there." Amusan, 25, had a fantastic 2022, breaking the 100-meter hurdles world record on her way to winning gold at the World Athletics Championships in Oregon in a time of 12.12 seconds. She backed up the performance by striking gold again at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham before retaining her Diamond League trophy in Zurich in a new meet record of 12.29 seconds. The previous record, which stood for 22 years, was held by American legend Gay Devers. According to Amusan, "I first started playing football, but I realized that my path did not go there." Former Celtic defender Efe Ambrose has joined championship side Greenock Morton after a stint training with their rivals Hamilton Asses. Ambrose, 34, has also had spells at Livingston, St Johnstone, Hibs and Dunfermline, and had been maintaining his fitness at New Douglas Park since the summer. Asses boss John Rankin had repeatedly stated that they had no intention of signing the Nigerian, but after helping him stay fit, he has now joined a rival club in their division who sits 8 points above rock bottom Arsenal. A Morton statement read, Greenock Morton are delighted to announce the signing of Efe Ambrose. Efe joined the team as a highly experienced defender, playing almost 200 games in the Scottish Premiership, where he won the league with Celtic on 4 occasions and has made just under 50 appearances for his national team and was part of the Nigerian side that lifted the African Cup of Nations in 2013. Speaking before the signing was announced, Arsenal's boss John Rankin said, "I don't know where Efe is going, but he did leave us here 10 days ago. He was pursuing a full-time playing contract for the end of his playing days, basically that involved coaching. He was brilliant when he came in here, great with the kids, really infectious, set standards for the younger ones and gave really good advice." And that's the size of our global news package for tonight. But before we go, another look at the major stories. Rivers State University Mbolu Port Harcourt bans indecent dressing on campus. National Emergency Management Agency lifts relief items to buyers of flood victims. National Orientation Agency calls on Nigerians to support flood victims to reduce sufferings. Nigeria Economic Summit Group says $2.5 million Badagry seaports will boost the economy of nation. Polish lawmakers declared Russia a terrorist state over aggression in Ukraine. Times Rihanna Power Lifts Me Up single for Black Panther movie. Injured Nigerian international Wilfred Ndidi returns to training ahead of Manchester City clash.